The first word came so softly that Celeste Marlo thought grief was playing tricks on her. She froze in the hospital courtyard, sunlight flashing off the glass towers around her, as her 7-year-old daughter Juniper stared at a tired stranger on a bench. For 2 years, Juniper had not spoken. Not to doctors, not to teachers, not even to her own mother. Now she looked at the stranger and whispered, "She sounds nice." The stranger's face went pale. Celeste's phone slipped from her hand and shattered on the pavement. The afternoon carried on as if a miracle hadn't just torn open 2 years of silence. If you believe in kindness and quiet miracles, stay with this story. And if it moves you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe before you go. Celeste was CEO of Marlo Biomed, a fast-growing medical technology company. She could close a failing deal in 3 minutes and silence a boardroom with one raised hand. But none of that power had ever helped Juniper. 2 years earlier, Juniper had been in the back seat of a car driven by her father, Adrian, when a truck lost control on a rain-soaked highway. Adrian died before help arrived. Juniper survived, bruised, wrist broken, and silent. Doctors called it traumatic mutism. Her voice hadn't disappeared. It had hidden somewhere her fear could protect it. Celeste tried everything. Therapists, art teachers, a home filled with paints and instruments. Juniper listened. She drew. She never spoke. That afternoon, they'd come to St. Catherine's for another evaluation that led nowhere. Walking out, Celeste was on a call with her assistant when Juniper slowed near a courtyard bench. There sat Callum, 38, unshaven, in a faded work shirt from a repair company that had closed months earlier. Beside him was his 8-year-old son, Oren, leg in a cast. Callum was playing an old voice message from his late wife, Maria, reminding him not to forget Oren's lunch. Maria had died 3 years earlier. Her voice was one of the few things Oren still remembered clearly. Juniper stopped and listened. When the recording ended, she whispered, "She sounds nice." Celeste heard it. Callum heard it. Oren heard it. Juniper looked as startled by her own voice as everyone else. Celeste dropped to her knees, afraid to move, afraid the voice might vanish again. Juniper turned to Callum. "Is she your mommy?" she asked. Oren nodded. He held out the phone, and Juniper stepped closer as Maria's laughter played once more. For 2 years, Celeste had searched for the key to unlock her daughter's silence. It hadn't been hidden in any clinic or treatment plan. It had been hiding in the ordinary voice of a mother, reminding her family about lunch. Juniper said the voice reminded her of someone. Celeste knew exactly who. Adrian had recorded dozens of messages for Juniper. Bedtime stories, silly songs, reminders to wear her helmet. After the accident, Celeste had locked his phone away, telling herself she was protecting Juniper. The truth was, she couldn't bear to hear his voice herself. Callum looked at Celeste, not the woman from magazine covers, just a mother kneeling on the pavement in tears. He told her gently that Juniper could listen as long as she needed. There was no need to turn the moment into a test. Those words struck Celeste harder than she expected. Everyone else had treated Juniper's silence as a problem to fix. Callum, a stranger with worn boots and tired eyes, was the first to remind her that Juniper wasn't a broken system. She was a grieving child. Juniper and Oren listened to Maria's message again and again. Oren talked about how his mother burned every first pancake, sang off key, and smelled like oranges and cinnamon. Then Juniper asked if he missed her. He said yes. Juniper turned to her mother, face breaking open. "I miss Daddy," she whispered. Celeste pulled her close. Juniper sobbed, not silently, but with deep, shaking cries 2 years in the making. Celeste cried with her. It should have been the happiest moment of her life. And it was, but beneath the joy came a hard truth. Juniper hadn't needed to forget her father to survive. She'd needed permission to remember him without it destroying her mother. In the weeks that followed, Celeste brought Juniper back to that courtyard every Tuesday when Oren had his appointments. Sometimes Juniper spoke a few words. Sometimes she just listened. Callum never pushed. He learned about Celeste's world. She learned about how he'd lost his job as a refrigeration technician, fallen behind on rent while caring for Oren, and never once asked her for help. At home, Juniper began speaking more. One morning, she asked why there were no photos of her father downstairs. Celeste realized she'd quietly erased him from their home. That weekend, they brought the old boxes down together, and grief finally stopped feeling like a locked room. Meanwhile, Celeste's company was struggling. A cooling system built for rural medical clinics kept failing its heat tests, and investors wanted it scrapped. One day, Callum noticed her technical diagrams and pointed out a flaw in a valve that would trap moisture during temperature changes. Her engineers dismissed it until they tested it. He was right. Celeste invited him to consult, then offered him a permanent role. Callum accepted on one condition, that the company create apprenticeships for skilled technicians without degrees, people like him, invisible only because they'd never had the right title. She agreed. Months later, Marlo Biomed unveiled the finished device at a community health event. Reporters expected a speech about innovation. Instead, Celeste invited Callum, Oren, and Juniper on stage. She told the crowd the project and her family had been saved by someone the world usually overlooks. Juniper stepped to the microphone, hand shaking. She said her father used used to tell her that kindness was a bridge people built without knowing who'd need to cross it, and that Callum and Oren had built one for her without even realizing it. Later, sitting together on the grass, Celeste watched Juniper and Oren play one of Adrian's recordings, him laughing about burnt pancakes. Oren laughed too. Maria used to say the same thing. For a moment, two voices that had never met seemed to share the same sunlight. Celeste thought about how close she'd come to missing it all. One more rushed phone call, one more minute lost to a screen. Wealth had given her access to every expert money could buy. Healing had come from a stranger with almost nothing, except patience and heart that still had room for someone else's grief. If this story moved you, like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more stories like this one. Drop a comment below. Kindness gives people back their voice. In honor of everyone whose pain has gone unheard, and every stranger who chose to listen anyway. As the sun began to set, Juniper ran ahead with Oren, laughter rising freely into the warm air. Celeste no longer measured her daughter's healing in words spoken. She measured it in moments like this, because sometimes the greatest miracle isn't loud. It's just someone choosing not to walk away.